Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Yes, I believe it is on. Yeah. Welcome to the January 8th, 2025, even though that's not what my agenda says. January 8th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting for the City of Murfreesboro.
That's my bad.
I would have never said that, Matthew. We do that a lot at the beginning of the year, don't we? So we will call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum present here tonight. We have not had any registered public comments. So our first item of business is to approve the minutes of the December 18th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting. We've had a chance to review those ahead of time. If any of the Planning Commission members had any additions or corrections, please let us know, and otherwise we'll be ready for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second on the minutes. Ms. Jacob?
Ms. Savelwater.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Harris.
Aye.
Vice Chair Halliburton.
Aye.
Mr. Prince.
Aye.
Mr. Wright.
Aye.
Chair Jones.
Aye. Okay, we do have a couple of items of business we're going to take care of right before we start public hearings tonight. First thing, Mr. Blumley, you would like to introduce a new planner to the staff.
Yes, and if you could come to the podium. The newest
Oh,
edition.
putting him on the spot.
Yes.
Right.
What? Oh, yeah, just go over there, Mark. Yeah.
The other podium.
We'd like to welcome Mr. Mark Shackelford Rowell to our team. Mark comes to us from Philadelphia. He is our newest planner, and he holds a bachelor's degree in planning, and he's about halfway done with his master's in planning from the University of Memphis.
Yep.
Nice.
And he has a varied background with a lot of different skills, and we are excited to have him on our team, and we'd like to welcome him to the staff and wanted to introduce him to the Planning Commission.
Welcome. We're glad you're here. Welcome to Murfreesboro.
Thanks. Nice to meet you all.
And
And
from
I
a
look
Memphis
forward
alum, go
to
Tigers,
serving.
And look what you've got to look forward to. So, yes, what a great way to welcome you. So, but we're glad you're here. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Then also, we would like to move our staff report from item 6A. We'll go ahead and take care of that before the public hearings start tonight. So, Sloan Lewis, how are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So this is a mandatory referral to consider the dedication of an electric easement on city-owned property along Hemlock Drive. Middle Tennessee Electric is the applicant. Ms. Lewis.
Chair Jones, I do believe we need a motion to reorder the agenda.
Sorry, you told me that. We need a motion to make that change on the agenda, please.
I'll move for approval, Chair.
Second.
Motion and lots of seconds. Ms. Jacob?
Ms. Savelwater.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Harris.
Aye.
Vice Chair Halliburton.
Aye.
Mr. Prince.
Aye.
Mr. Wright.
Aye.
Chair Jones.
Aye. Thank you, Matthew, keeping me in line. All right, Ms. Lewis, go ahead.
Good evening. For this item, the Planning Commission is being asked to consider the dedication of an electric easement for Middle Tennessee on property that the city owns on Hemlock Drive. The purpose of this electric easement dedication is to relocate power lines along Hemlock Drive to accommodate Phase 6 of the Davenport Station subdivision. An exhibit depicting the location of the proposed easement is included in the agenda materials. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend approval of this request to the City Council, subject to the following two conditions. Condition 1, if approved by City Council, Middle Tennessee Electric or their designee will be responsible for providing the information necessary for the legal department to prepare legal instruments to formally dedicate the proposed easement in question. The legal instruments will be subject to final review and approval of the legal department. And condition 2, Middle Tennessee Electric or their designee will also be responsible for recording these instruments, including payment of the recording fee.
Okay, any questions or comments on this item?
There are none. I'll make a motion we approve, subject to all staff comments.
Second.
Motion and a second. Ms. Jacob?
Ms. Savelwater.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Harris.
Aye.
Vice Chair Halliburton.
Aye.
Mr. Prince.
Aye.
Mr. Wright.
Aye.
Chair Jones.
Aye. Okay. Next, we are going to move on to our public hearings tonight and recommendations for City Council. Our first item is a zoning application to amend the PRD, Greystone PRD zoning on approximately 205.21 acres located along Beals Road and Double Springs Road. Meritage Homes is the applicant. Mr. Donovan, good evening.
Good evening, Chair Jones and members of the Planning Commission. So the applicant, Meritage Homes, has before you tonight a amendment to the Greystone PRD. In your staff report, there's some information on the existing PRD. I'm not going to go into great detail there because the bulk of this PRD is remaining consistent with what's in the current PRD document. 375 single-family residential homes along with 87 single-family attached townhomes. The 1.83 units per acre density is going to remain the same. There are just a couple of elements of note for the Planning Commission that will be changing in the PRD document. So on the map that you can see in front of you, the applicant is requesting that along the corridor that, let's see if I can, along the corridor of Lions Farm Parkway, that be changed from its currently proposed to be underground electric service, and with the amendment that would be allowed to go to overhead electrical service. The remainder of the PRD will continue to be served by underground electric, but this roadway will be served by overhead power. So the applicant has included, which is in your packet, a letter that says that indicates that they believe the proposal aligns with the city standards for utility practices and it integrates with the existing infrastructure, which recently included overhead power lines being installed by MTE and the overhead transmission lines that are on the site from TVA as well. Also, an item to note that has kind of affected the whole development of this site, the green area where you see existing wetlands to be preserved that extends over much of the site is also within this corridor and an item for the Planning Commission to take note of. So in addition to the overhead service, there will be some effects on landscaping. Landscaping was proposed for the Lions Farm corridor. That will affect some of the tree planting potential that are there with power lines being overhead. You're going to see an impact on what type of trees going from something that may be more of a shade tree to an ornamental style tree that would be underneath MTE's power lines. So staff is supportive of the rezoning request for the following reasons. The PRD zoning is consistent with the future land use map of the comprehensive plan, which supports cluster development when overall density is met and the remainder is preserved as common areas and open space. Allowing overhead lines supports the efficient continuation of Lions Farm Parkway development while addressing the unique site constraints, as Lions Farms Parkway is an important link depicted on the major transportation plan, and the amendment balances cost effectiveness with minimal impact on the overall subdivision design, as underground utilities will remain throughout the rest of the development. Planning Commission will need to conduct a public hearing on this matter and formulate a recommendation for City Council. I'll be happy to answer any question that the Planning Commission may have, and Mr. Matt Taylor is here as well, representing the applicant.
Okay. Do we have any questions, or is there any, is Mr. Taylor doing a presentation or anything, or just here for questions, Mr. Taylor?
He's just here for questions tonight.
All right. Did anybody have any questions for Mr. Donovan or Mr. Taylor before we open the public hearing? Okay. Thank you. So with that, we will have our first public hearing tonight. Since there are a lot of you here, I'm going to go ahead and just explain. I'll just do this first time on the public hearings. If you would like to speak on any of the public hearings tonight, you come to the podium, you state your name and your address, and then you have up to 3 minutes to make your comments about the item. You make all your comments to the Planning Commission, please not to the other members of the audience or the developers or the staff. Please make your comments to the Planning Commission. We'll listen to all the comments that you have tonight, all your concerns, and then at the end of the public hearing, we will address everyone's questions and concerns. We try not to do that every step along the way. So ask your questions, we make notes, and we will address all of those at the end of the public hearings. With that being said, we are on this first item tonight, the zoning application to amend the Greystone PRD. If you are here to speak on this item tonight, we will open the public hearing and ask anybody that would like to speak on this to come forward to the podium and speak. Anybody here for this one tonight? Okay. There's no one here for this item. Then we will close the public hearing and ask the Planning Commission if you have any other questions, comments, and/or concerns about this particular request. And if not, we'll be ready for a motion. Questions or concerns, anything regarding, it's just the overview?
If there are none, I'll make a motion we approve, subject to all staff comments.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Ms. Jaco?
Ms. Ava Water,
Aye.
Mr. Carroll,
Abstain.
Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Vice Chair Halliburton,
Aye.
Mr. Prince,
Aye.
Mr. Bright,
Aye.
Chair Jones.
Aye. Okay. Our second item tonight is a zoning application for approximately 4 acres located along North Rutherford Boulevard and Old Las Casas Road to be rezoned from CF to PCD. This is the Las Casas Crossings PCD. HEMG LLC is the applicant. Ms. Smith, good evening.
Good evening, Chair Jones and Commission. As you,
Ms. Smith, if I might cut in just real quick. I know we have a bunch of people standing tonight. We do have a few chairs where folks could fill in. I see one there, one there. I think there are a few up here, one back here. So if anybody would like a seat, there are a few available.
Thank you, Chair Jones. As you can see on the screen above you, this particular site is bounded by 3 major roadways. It's bounded by Old Las Casas Road on the east, Rutherford Boulevard to the north, and a pre-existing development to the west. The project area, though, even though it's currently one large parcel, to date, only the ones highlighted in yellow there are part of the proposed project. This particular proposed project is designated, as you mentioned, CF Zone District. And with that zone district, most of the uses that are being proposed in this plan development are included as proposed uses. However, the CF zone district does not allow a oil change like a Valvoline type store. So here staff looked at it as a planned development. You can see on this conceptual drawing, we looked at kind of a master plan for the entirety of the piece, and these 4 anticipated future parcels are speculative. The red ones are what they consider phase 2. The yellow one is their phase 1 of the particular project area. And really they're asking for, when we compare the CF zone district to the proposed plan development, they're only really looking at one exception to it, but the general plan does designate this area as well as a general commercial shown here on the right-hand side of the slide. There is a presentation that will be prepared this evening, provided by Mr. Clyde Roundtree, to go over the other specifics of the project site. But as you'll notice in the last portion of the recommendation, staff believes that it is in conformity with our future land use map. But we'll look at the specifics of that with Mr. Roundtree's presentation.
Thank you, Holly. Chair Jones, Commissioners, my name is Clyde Roundtree with Huddleston Steel Engineering. And as Holly mentioned, this is a project that is a master plan for 9 acres. We're specifically focusing on 4 acres for the planned development. The result of the plan development is really a result of the automotive use that we're asking for with the Valvoline not being allowed in the commercial fringe zoning. So with that in mind, I'll kind of walk you through the various components of the presentation. As was mentioned, the site is zoned CF, as in the big black bold outline, which is commercial fringe. The top right corner along Old Las Casas and North Rutherford Boulevard is the corner in question where the Valvoline is going to be located. As far as the overall comprehensive plan, we feel like it's consistent with the comprehensive plan, so we feel like it's a fitting request for the zoning. The adjacent uses, Holly and I were talking about this earlier, there's a lot of activity around this corner. It's surprising that this land hasn't developed yet. It does have kind of an existing drainage corridor through the center of it, which makes it a little bit unique in terms of characteristics. The bottom portion is going to be an Aldi, which is going to be up adjacent to the churches to the south. And then that top, basically the northwest corner, is going to be a Murphy Oil gas station that'll kind of feed that corner. But there are gas stations in relationship to it. This is a very popular corner. Overall, the master plan, as Holly mentioned, the 3 buildings in red are buildings that are speculative, but it is nice because Mr. Patel, our client, can look at that and know kind of potentially how to market the property. There's no guarantee that it's going to play out the way we designed it, but we did want to make sure from a capacity standpoint, we had a good working knowledge of the impact of the interconnectivity of the roads and how it impacts Old Las Casas Road, Rutherford Boulevard, and so on. The Valvoline has gone through a few iterations with staff comments and primarily was making sure that it had the quality to weight the corner. The challenge with Valvolines, as well as any kind of auto service, is that it has the large garage doors, and we don't want those facing public right-of-ways. In this situation, it will be facing a right-of-way, so we've encouraged the client to enhance the architecture, and they've done that by really basically the Murfreesboro standards, but really doing a good job at it with the defined base, accentuated materials, undulating roof line, and we feel like it's a very attractive building, but it was something staff was very concerned about, making sure it had the quality to kind of weight that corner, knowing full well that those doors may be visible. Phase 1, as Holly mentioned, is basically the Valvoline, which upon getting this approved, it'll probably move right into site plan. Again, Phase 2 is speculative at this point. The biggest request from the staff in relationship to enhancing the building, in addition to enhancing the building, was to enhance the landscaping. So the red line represents a berm, an enhanced berm, a wider landscape strip that allows us to have a substantial berm with landscaping on top of that. And that's really to really soften the impact of those doors along Old Las Casas Highway. And also just to kind of, it's a prominent corner to make sure it's very attractive for the city. As it moves down the Old Las Casas Road, it turns yellow. That's where we're going to try to do the berm, but we don't want to commit to it because we're not sure if we have the real estate to really pull it off. We will do enhanced landscaping down that strip, but as far as the berm is concerned, we know it's going to be fairly tight to pull that off. We need about 15 feet clear to have that berm work successfully. Overall, the only exception, as was mentioned, is the fact that we're asking this request is because we're an automotive motor vehicle service that's not allowed in the CF zone. The plan development provides that opportunity for us to move forward. As prohibitive uses, no vape shop, liquor store, gasoline station, or convenience store are allowed inside this 4-acre area. And we feel like it's been advantageous because now the developer and the owner knows that the standards of the buildings that are speculative will have that kind of character as defined in the pattern book. So we used the design guidelines, went through those, and made sure that the future buildings will have the character that's consistent with the quality of the Valvoline, but also consistent with what we're trying to accomplish in Murfreesboro. So with that being said, if you have any questions for me, I'm glad to answer. If there's any public hearing questions, I'd be glad to come back and respond to those.
Okay.
Mr. Bill Huddleston's here as well if there's any traffic-related questions specifically, but I want to let you know that he's here as well.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Roundtree. Any questions before we open the public hearing? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. With that, we will open the public hearing for this item and see if there is anybody here that would like to come forward and speak regarding this PCD, Las Casas Crossings PCD.
Good evening, Commission. Leslie Dodd Carl, 1521 Stratford Hall Circle. I appreciate the opportunity to make a few comments, but first I want to say how impressed I have been with the planning staff. I've worked with them on 3 different occasions on different projects. And the quality of the work that they're doing is light years beyond what's been happening in the last 30 years, say. This area has been neglected, in my opinion. It has been labeled as student housing, which it actually is not. This is a neighborhood. Most of the people who live there are working families. It's actually the people who work in the building industry that keeps this county running. So I want you to consider that this is a neighborhood. Las Casas Pike, Old Las Casas Pike is a 2-lane road with a turn lane. The speed limit is 35 miles an hour. Now, we all know I go 35. I may be the only one that goes 35. We used to have motorcycles racing up and down it. We still have some significant speeding. I want you to consider the egress off of Rutherford. That's going to be very important. And from my understanding, which could be wrong, there's going to be a block put into that intersection so that the traffic is going to be forced to turn right. But I could be wrong about that, and I don't really want to get into that. But the main thing is I want you to think about what's going to go in these speculative buildings. And I hope you will work with Mr. Patel and Mr. Harney to choose businesses that are an asset to this area, especially with the drive-through restaurant. Think about something that has reasonable hours, that there's not going to be traffic up and down Old Las Casas 24 hours a day. Another comment that I have is one time I was behind the school bus between Hazelwood and Greenland. Over 80 kids got off of one bus. And that's just Hazelwood to Greenland, if you know the area. There are kids that get off the bus from Rutherford to Hazelwood. So there's a lot of children on this street. So I think that needs to be taken into consideration as far as an increase in traffic. But please, I'm very pleased with the architecture. I think the berm ought to extend as far as it can go. I understand the restrictions. I'm begging you to do something that's attractive for this area, that's an asset. This is a neighborhood. There is housing of all different prices, Pitts Lane, Stratford Hall, Prestwick, Scotland Acres even. So just continue to be considerate. The staff has been very considerate, I feel, and I'm trusting that you all will be considerate of this also. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Who's next? Okay. Okay. There's no one else on this item, then we will close the public hearing. And ask for comments or questions, or if you want to have anyone
You wanna
address
address the-
some of the.
Egress and this, the comment that Leslie made.
Sure. So as we've been working with our traffic division, when we looked at this and you all actually approved a master plan layout for the entire site, we looked at one, interconnectivity amongst the sites. So this particular site has a point of egress here that will have cross access between these two properties, and then have the ability to come all the way connected through these ones without being on Old Las Casas. And as Aldi's builds, they will have access that ties you between Las Casas Highway, which will ultimately be a 5-lane roadway, to Old Las Casas Road. And so what Leslie was talking about is this section right here. So as we've been talking with our traffic division, they've actually required this area to be a right in and right out only, with the idea of the spillback that occurs here is such that they don't want any left turns all the way from this portion of the site through that intersection, which currently stops just here to the north, but because of the conditions that are occurring out there in the field. from a timing perspective, I don't believe it's in any of our capital improvement projects yet, but as we're approving access for that site, we make sure that we're not promising access points that we don't want them to have in the future. So there's only a right-hand right in on this location, as well as this one. TDOT has also said right in, right out only. So we do have a lot of constraints, but we did ask for a full traffic analysis for all of the pieces, taking a look at all of them in concert with one another to make sure that the plan layout would work the best for all of the adjacent traffic.
Is the access point that you're discussing there on North Rutherford between the Murphy Oil and this proposed Valvoline, is that already under construction or proposed to be constructed with the Valvoline?
It would be proposed to be constructed. My understanding is the applicant that is purchasing the properties will be developing this access point because it will require a TDAC permit because they'll have to put that portion of it in a culvert. Currently, it's open to the sky, so that's one of the portions that they're doing, and I believe that's the delay for this submittal here, is that they want to make sure that somebody else is constructing that prior to them breaking ground. So my understanding, I'm looking for the developer in Mr. Huddleston, is that correct, that they're building out this portion first, and then the other projects would build their portions? And I see Mr. Huddleston's head nodding, but he's coming up to the podium.
Yeah. Welcome, Mr. Huddleston. I'm just trying to figure out, you know, if this Valvoline were approved, do we have one access, two access? Are we going to have we'll have the old Las Casas. Do we also have this one? You know, just kind of the timing of everything.
Yeah, good evening, Chair Jones, member of the commission. I'm Bill Huddleston, president of Huddleston Steel Engineering. Yes, whether the Murphy Oil goes first or the Valvoline goes first, the developer is on the hook to actually construct this one access at that location.
So, Bill, you may not know the answer to this question, but are we doing anything different with the old Las Casas Road intersection with Rutherford Boulevard, or that's just going to remain as it is today?
I believe that's what Holly's been discussing. The city's going to actually put a median there in Rutherford Boulevard, so I can't take a left out of Old Las Casas, and I can't make a left into Old Las Casas.
From Old Las Casas, you're not going to be able to turn left?
That's correct. It's my understanding that's what the city is undertaking.
I mean, I don't disagree with that, because even today, without this being here, that's a difficult turn.
And then that's a later, that would be done by the city at some point in the future?
But we've already agreed and are designing, and the design's almost finished, to make that access for Murphy Oil and the Valvoline a right in, right out, so it contemplates that median.
Okay. If either one of, when either one of these properties, Valvoline or Murphy Oil, opens for business, will that access point be available?
Yes, it has to be.
Okay. And then so either way, they're both going to have 2 points of access, both from North Rutherford Boulevard, and then if it's Murphy Oil, it'll be from Las Casas, and if it's Valvoline, it'll be from Old Las Casas.
That's
They'll
correct.
have 2 points of access. And the berm was going to be approximately the berm and then the plantings on top for 15 feet? What'd you tell me that was, Mr. Roundtree or Mr. Huddleston, do you? That's going to basically be kind of, you know, the doors. We're not going to be looking right in the doors.
That's the goal, Chair Jones, that the berm will help kind of take that sight line out from the driver's perspective. We'll put landscaping on top of that as well. to give us a decent amount of screening. Obviously, they want to still be able to see the business, but the goal is to really take the bite out of the doors.
So it was,
The width is 15 feet in order to have the berm's potentially 2 to 3 feet. But working with Brad, they like to have about a 5-foot cap on the berm so you can landscape on top, but it's just not a crown, so that's why it's so wide. And we're able to accommodate that wherever the red's shown on the drawing. But as it kind of tapers down as you go down south on Old Las Casas Road, so we're going to do our best to use landscape screening there, but we can't really accommodate the berm.
okay. What other comments or concerns does anyone have on this proposal?
If there are none, I'll make a motion, we approve, subject to all staff comments.
Second.
Motion and a second, Ms. Jacob.
Ms. Savelwater,
Aye.
Mr. Carroll,
Aye.
Mr. Harris, Vice Chair Halliburton,
Aye.
Mr. Prince,
Aye.
Mr. Wright,
Aye.
Chair Jones.
Aye. Okay. Item C tonight is a zoning application to amend the PCD zoning, East Side Village PCD, on approximately 1.94 acres located along North Rutherford Boulevard. CSC Properties LLC is the applicant. Ms. Smith.
Hello again, Chair Jones. Let me just get to the piece of property here, make sure I'm at the right project.
Okay.
We're at item 5C, correct?
Correct.
I think one time I skipped over an item and jumped over another one. So this particular project site, you can see on the staff report highlighted in pink with the yellow around it, is an existing planned commercial development that was approved probably about a decade ago, which currently has a new purchaser of the property that's reevaluated the types of uses for this particular project site and is proposing 2 drive-through uses on the property. Because it is PCD zoning, you can see here, the original project was 1 singular building with a drive-through, some perimeter plantings and buffers, and 1 access point onto North Rutherford Boulevard. The applicant will be going through their proposed program book, but staff looks at it from a standpoint of our future land use map and whether it's consistent with the proposed uses. So this particular pink color is our neighborhood commercial future land use district. And in that district, it basically recommends kind of a lower height, scale, and location commercial type buildings. And they look at having some significantly reduced signage sizes as well as additional buffers. So staff did look at the buffers for the original landscaping, and the new proposal has some additional landscaping. We also took a look at our greenways, blueways, bikeways master plan, and that does show Rutherford as being a multi-use path with the effort to tie really MTSU to the future greenways via Rutherford and our other trail systems. So there are bike racks incorporated into the program for both employees and potential clients that would come to the particular uses. And then secondly, we have talked about the signs out in the front. Monument signs previously only had 1 approved for the site. The applicant is looking at 2 signs in those areas, and again, to meet the intent of our general plan, we're looking at really a pedestrian-oriented height, which would be closer to the 6-foot level, and those are included in your program books. With that, I believe the applicant's engineer, Matt Taylor, or is it Brian, will be speaking on the project, and so let me get to that particular PowerPoint. And he will go over the specifics of their proposal. And this is considered an amendment to the current PCD, so it is a noticed public hearing. So it'll go before both Planning Commission with a recommendation to City Council.
Okay.
Thank you, Holly. Chairman Jones and members of the Planning Commission, good evening. Good to see you again. I am Brian Grover with SEC. With me tonight also is Matt Taylor from SEC, along with Andrew Smith of CSC Properties. So say thank you for listening to our request tonight. As Holly stated, this was a previously approved PCD back in, I think 2020 is when it went through the final review in the City Council. For those of you that remember, I think what you're going to see with this plan is a more concrete plan that has a more defined end user as compared to the last plan. And for those who are not very familiar with it, we'll have a brief presentation here to get through this. The site exists between Rutherford Boulevard and Yearwood Avenue. It's about southeast of the MTSU campus. Looking a little bit closer to the site as it sits today, there's just two existing single-family houses with a residential neighborhood to the east and commercial to the west, with that commercial primarily consisting of a strip center and a Shell gas station. Current zoning, as stated, is the PCD, the future land use plan. This being the neighborhood commercial, we want to make sure that with this amendment, we're still following those future land use guidelines. This is a view of one of the existing homes today. This is the other home. This is a view from Rutherford Boulevard looking east into the site, about the approximate location of where that entrance drive is going to be, and with the existing commercial to the west. This is a view looking down at Yearwood, looking north from that Lewis intersection, with the residential neighborhood to the right and the site to the west here. The previous plan, four of the main aspects of this plan was going to the previous rezoning request, was the buffers, the turn lane going into the site, along with the speaker box located on site, as well as the cross connections and future connections to Yearwood Avenue. The proposed amendment still addresses all four of those items. We still have the cross access easements on site, along with a proposed access easement to Yearwood, although at this time no foreseeable connection is proposed for that, but upon discussing with staff, they did want that availability to be there, so the easement does exist on site. The total site area is 1.94 acres. One of the main differences from the previous rezoning request is that this is now two separate lots of record as compared to a horizontal property regime, with Lot A end user being potentially the Dutch Brothers Company and Lot B being Chipotle. The buffer still exists on site, north, east, and south side. One of the things we have to worry about with this request is that there is no exterior ordering boxes. Things have been changing as technology does as well. So the drive-through lanes are primarily for mobile order pickups, or at Dutch Brothers, or that's the only thing that Chipotle has, a mobile order, with Dutch Brothers actually ordering at the window. So there's no external speakers to worry about with this proposal. Each lot would still provide its own formal open space. And one of the aspects discussing with staff is because this is that neighborhood commercial future land use with the reduced signage, we did want to put a limit on that signage as to not have an overbearing presence at the street frontage. There is still pedestrian connection from both lots going to North Rutherford Boulevard on this side as well. When it comes to the buffers, because this was an important aspect, making sure that this was mitigating any impact on the surrounding residential area. The north and south side of the site is going to have still have that type D buffer, but it will have a 6-foot tall fence, and that would include a chain link fence with those sections to help mitigate people from trying to access the site from portions they shouldn't, or leave the site from portions they shouldn't, to help maintain that privacy for those homeowners. With the east side of the site being installed with a 6-foot solid fence to really help screen that neighborhood on the east side from this development and mitigate any type of impact that it would have. The architecture for the site is going to follow the design guidelines from Murfreesboro. Some of the aspects, we're not going to be more than 35 feet in height. The buildings would be primarily brick, stone, and synthetic stone for materials. Examples of what those would possibly look like. Here's the Dutch Brothers on that Lot A, which is the west side, facing North Rutherford Boulevard. This would be the internal side of the building to the proposed development, and the northern elevation would be viewed from the landscape buffer and then as seen from Yearwood Avenue. Lot B architectural characteristics, they're the same. And this has been one of the nice aspects of this is actually the architecture has been, they've been working together to be consistent. And some of those consistencies include the same colored canopies and brick details, such as in the sill and water table. So the overall architecture of the site, although two different companies, does have some consistency throughout the development. And this is the Chipotle elevations here. Access to the site primarily remains the same, with the primary access coming off of North Rutherford Boulevard. The proposed turn lane is still proposed in this, along with the cross-access easement and the proposed access easement to Yearwood Avenue. Although no connection is actually proposed at this time, like I said, the easement is still there and exists, if such a connection would be desired in the future. For part of the requirements for Murfreesboro and working with the clients with their typical designs is a bypass lane. So the drive-throughs still include the bypass lane for safety. All the parking is included as per the Murfreesboro standards, so the parking calculations do meet those typical standards. The formal open space on the lots, as you'll see in the next slide, are requesting a exception. Typically, the areas reserved for eating are not included in formal open spaces, but this book is requesting that that space do be included in that formal open space calculation. And you can see on the right here, these are some example photos of the typical type of settings you would see with these restaurants. Overall, there's 5 requested exceptions for this PCD. A lot of it remains the same from the previous book, primarily dealing with the buffers, wanting those to actually end near that cross-access easement so we don't have to worry about visibility or those being removed later on once those get pushed further through. As stated before, there is the request for the formal open space to be counted from those eating areas, as well as a request for the tree islands along North Rutherford Boulevard to actually, those 4 in the green boxes to not include trees. With the site being designed with the parking so close to North Rutherford Boulevard, there was just some constraints in terms of space, and we wanted to make sure we had a really strong pedestrian connection to North Rutherford Boulevard. In order to do so, we used the tree islands to get the sidewalk from North Rutherford Boulevard to the sites to form a more direct access and safe access for the pedestrians. The request for the stormwater, their stormwater beautification requirements, those are required even if they're along a buffer. In this case, we're worried about the overplanting because of the buffer's location and proximity to the stormwater. So just simply requesting that those beautification requirements are not required along that yellow area of the buffer. And lastly, an exception. Typically when we do these photometric plans, or we have been doing them for submittals, there at times becomes an issue within these developments of the half-a-foot candle rule at the boundary lines. With this being a shared driveway access into this site, as well as the same use, we're just requesting that sorry, different one. That request is actually for the accessory structure setbacks to be reduced to 0. Part of the design includes the dumpsters on the west side of Chipotle. They typically, if they're over 200 square feet, they have to remain within the same setbacks as the primary structure. So this request is to reduce those to 0. So those accessory structures only, can be closer to that side setback. As I said before, overall, we believe it forms a more concrete design, gives you a better definition of what the end users are going to be and what the site will have to offer in the end. If you guys have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer those now or after the public hearing.
Any questions before we open? Okay.
Thank you.
Very much. All right. With that, we will open the public hearing for this amendment to the PCD for East Side Village PCD. If anybody would like to speak on this item, please come forward, state your name and address.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kenneth Haynes. I own 214 and what would be 212 Yearwood. That would be straight across the street from the house that the gentleman showed in black tar paper. When we went through this 4 or 5 years ago, we thought we had this worked out where there would be no access to Yearwood. Yearwood is a very small street, and we don't need, at first they wanted to supply the strip mall with the trucks coming down Yearwood. And we fought that, and we thought we had won that. What the gentleman was saying that there's proposed entrances from Yearwood, and we don't need that. They want to do commercial, keep it on Rutherford. We don't need exits on Yearwood. It's a residential, and that I thought we had that part worked out, but from what I'm hearing from this gentleman, and again, if he's talking about put dumpsters right up against Yearwood, I don't want to smell that either. Is that what you were saying? That you want to put closer to Yearwood?
We'll address that.
Okay.
We'll make note of that, but I think you'll see, we can show you
Okay.
the new layout. I don't think that's correct, but we can certainly address that at the end of the public hearing. So no exits, and you don't want the dumpsters near Yearwood either. Okay.
And if the fence, and we're supposed to get 2 rows of shrubbery and the fence, I don't think that needs to be affected on our side. That's
All right.
about all I got.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We will confirm all that at the end of the public hearing. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Richard Graham. I live at 2403 Central Boulevard. This would be adjacent corner from this property, which would be the corner of Yearwood Avenue and Central. So if I walk out of my house, I see this property at the corner. It was my understanding, and I think it's written down, that there was supposed to be a real nice fiberglass type fence from the corner of this property on the back side all the way down to the corner of the property toward the end of Yearwood Avenue. And from what I understand, I got hearing aids, and I have a hard time hearing sometimes. But you're wanting to change something in relationship to Yearwood Avenue. But I was understanding there'd be a normal setback on the back side off Yearwood. And then there would be a fence, and then there would be a shrubbery that was put there. That was whoever designs the survey for the planning commission. I don't know that to be a fact. I'm just telling what I remember. Also, on the north side, there was supposed to be a 6-foot chain link fence that went all the way from Yearwood Avenue down to Rutherford Boulevard, or where the setback would be on Rutherford Boulevard. This is keeping from people from crossing in and through the property all the time. and that will happen unless you control it. On the south side, my understanding, there was supposed to be a 6-foot fence on that side, all the way from the backset of Yearwood Avenue out to Rutherford Boulevard. Now, what would affect any of these changes that I've talked about?
I think what we'll do at the end of the public hearing, we'll bring the drawing back up that shows the fences and the setbacks and the berms, so we can clarify all that for you for what's in the plan, what is in the book as they're requesting it.
Is this drawing that I'm seeing right here what y'all proposing?
Yes, sir. I do believe that is the.
And that's only shrubbery down Yearwood Avenue.
Well, the fence, you're right, I can't tell if the fence is in there, but in the book, we did see a picture that had the fence, and so we'll confirm that at the end, yes, sir, and we'll show it up so you can see it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, appreciate it. Who else would like to speak on this item tonight? Anybody? Okay. Then we will close the public hearing, and we will, either Ms. Smith or Brian, I'm not sure who wants to.
I think Ms. Smith is going to address that, and if the cable department could pull up my computer, I've got, I think, the page that will address the landscaping issues.
And it did sound a little bit confusing, I think, when it was explained. And so where you see the exceptions, you'll see the red lines on both the left and right side of the site. That's the north and the south sides. And in this proposal, it stops just short of Rutherford, and that's to allow for future access easements between the north and the south, since our general plan actually shows those as being future neighborhood commercial properties. And I did look at the prior approval that we did have in place, and it did have 6-foot chain link fences. This also proposes those 6 feet chain link fences. The difference is it's stopping short to allow that future connectivity. But that's something I don't know would be easy to remove if that's something that the Planning Commission felt was a necessary incorporation. The other one is the green one on the top of the screen. That actually represents a 6-foot tall vinyl fence that goes the entire length. So it would actually connect to those chain link fences and have no gaps. Generally, though, the way we usually see those is the fence is usually between the row of trees, and they're actually proposing the full buffer landscape. Usually, if you build a fence between the two, you could do half of the plantings, which is what the current proposal is allowed. So the new proposal actually proposes another full row of trees into that, and generally you'll see that fence between those two rows so that you don't get just a fence that you're staring at, but actually get some green space. And so those were the two. And then on the dumpster location, in the center of the site, you'll see the green area. That's kind of the ponding retention area, and that's the location that they were talking about being able to be at that 0 setback line. There's still the full setbacks closest to Yearwood. Actually, they're far more than the 42-foot normally that we would have as a frontage. So there are no dumpsters that are close to the residences. Prior rendition actually showed them closer. Staff said, no, you need to get them further away from those residences. So that has also been pulled forward.
And that is true on both of these.
Correct.
lots.
So you'll see the other one is located on the inside of, and I can't circle Matthew's map. So it's, if you notice the drive-throughs on the left side, there's kind of a square box with 2 square boxes
Matthew,
inside it. That's
Matthew,
I'll mention it to Chair Jones.
would you mind just circling for us the dumpsters on the Dutch Brothers property? Yes, sir. Thank you
There
so
you
much,
go.
so they can see that. Thank you.
So
that's
those
our two
both stayed as far away from the residential as we could get them. And I think that takes care of all the questions.
There
That
was one more,
the trees in the back not being just shrubs.
about having access to Yearwood
Oh,
Avenue.
thank you. So that one would only be if the county of Rutherford approved it. When we talked to County of Rutherford, they said we do not want that connection, but we think in 20-year terms, if everything along that frontage goes neighborhood commercial, things can change. But the area on the other side of Yearwood is also in our future service area, which means we really don't want to annex anything there, and we could not unless it was requested by the owners. However, our traffic division, when they look at a signalized intersection, Yearwood is the only street that gets you back to a signalized intersection because there's no way to get to Alumni Drive, which is on the MTSU campus, and out that north section unless they agree to it. So this just puts something on the books that could or could not happen, but at this point in time, as long as Yearwood is a county street, it would be the County of Rutherford only that could approve that access connection.
And we feel that we would be remiss if we didn't at least put a placeholder in there because that does get traffic from these two locations down to a signalized intersection at East Main Street. And there's no opportunity at this location for a signalized access. And so while the county won't allow it now, the demand in the future could be that such that they change their mind. We don't know, but we want to make sure we preserve that ability to have that connection to get folks to a signalized intersection at some point. But at this point, it's the county's decision not to allow that access.
And so for what we're looking at, and for the gentleman that were asking questions, this is just an easement. The plan itself and the way it's proposed to be developed is with the circular drive going around the building as we're looking at it on this plan. That even though the easement is still shown on the plan, there's not going to be actual access easement currently. Is that correct?
I believe there would be an easement, but there wouldn't be a physically constructed driveway.
Yes. Yes.
And Madam Chair, Mr. McKnight brought to my attention that there was a gentleman who signed up to speak for public comment. It was unclear what item he was proposing to speak about, but he actually, Mr. McKnight indicated, wanted to speak about this particular item and was a little bit confused about the public comment versus public hearing process. Okay. So if you would like to reopen the public hearing, I believe that he would like to speak.
Okay. Do we have to have a motion to reopen the public hearing?
Yes, there does need to be a motion to reopen.
Move to reopen the public hearing.
Second.
Motion and second, Ms. Jaco. To reopen the public hearing. Oh, caught you off guard.
Ms. Saberwater?
Aye.
Mr. Carroll?
Aye.
Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Vice Chair Halliburton?
Aye.
Mr. Prince?
Aye.
Mr. Wright?
Aye.
Chair Jones?
Aye. Okay, we have somebody that had registered for public comments tonight that wanted to speak on this item. Please come forward.
Hello, planners. My name is Dylan Mito. I live at 1109 Spring Creek Drive, and I wanted to bring to the motion the danger that median curbs bring to the drivers of Murfreesboro and how we could fix the safety hazards that these cause. I want to bring to you an experience I had while driving along near a median curb on Fortress Boulevard and Franklin Road. I was driving and there was a green light and I was going straight, and there was a median curb that had cut into the lane I was in, and going straight to the intersection, I blasted into this curb and damaged my car. I still don't have it to this day. I do have pictures of the intersection if you guys would like to take a look. If you want me to hand them to somebody, Yeah, all right. In those pictures, you can see the intersection. You can see how the curb is right in front of the middle lane, the left-hand lane, as a driver. And I was driving late at night. It was raining and dark. And so as someone who's never been there before, I was unable to see the curb, and I hit the curb. I feel like, as you know, we have a lot of new people here in Murfreesboro. It's the 4th largest growing city in Tennessee. And, you know, to be more welcoming to the people who are coming here, I feel like planning, you know, our roads better for safety would be better. If you could look among the stack of papers there, or not papers, photos, there is the curb that is, you know, fairly damaged, not just by my car, but other cars that have hit the curb. As a man I had talked to would help me with fixing my car up and getting it out of the way, had said that, you know, multiple other people have crashed there. There are pictures of tracks, and there is also debris in the curb. And so, you know, for future planning, I believe it would be a good idea, you know, I have like 3 solutions for this. My first one would be streetlights. There are very few streetlights around there, not enough emitting enough light to see the curb. Another idea I have is just, you know, not having the curb there. The other road did not have a curb. You know, it's not necessary to have a curb there. But my final proposal, which could actually work on almost every single curb, would be installing reflectors or painting the curb with reflective paint, and it could make it visible to drivers among all weather and times of day.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out to speak and
Can we
let
get
us
these
know.
pictures to Chris Griffin and Ron?
Glad to.
Thank you very much.
And I agree with you. Those are probably my tire tracks, to be honest.
She hit it right before you did.
Yeah. I live right there, and it is, you are right. It is very confusing.
Okay. So
This would be T-Dot. This is not.
we will now close the public hearing again and then ask for further comments and questions. I don't know if we got everything addressed then on that. Just FYI, is there a median curve in this is there one right here on Rutherford Boulevard where we're talking, or is this just a general comment that we need to be aware of?
Looks like there's a turning lane getting added on Rutherford right there. That'll extend that.
But just a turning lane.
No, I think there's a median there.
Yeah, there's a median, but there's a median that separates the turn lane from the other side of traffic, from what I can see.
Was he registered to speak in public comments before the meeting? I think that's what the question is.
He was, and then I emailed him but didn't get a response. I asked him which specific item he wanted to speak about.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
And the program book actually shows a new proposed turn lane. So currently, that picture that you saw where it was open to the site is just an opening. For our traffic division, they stated that they would have to have a full left-hand turn lane. That's usually about 100 to 150 feet in depth, and it would have to meet the regular city standards and be approved by our Public Works folks for those improvements in the street.
Okay. All right, so do we have our fence, the shrubbery, the chain link fence? I guess one of the issues was that in this particular plan book, the chain link fence is back behind the parking spaces and a little bit further back, so if everybody...
I don't really have I mean, there's a cost to take the fence down, but it's a chain link fence. I don't really have an issue going all the way down.
All the way to the street.
All the way to the street, because we don't know when this is gonna get connected.
I agree.
Would you just take it straight down?
Yeah,
Yeah, just straight line.
Dead
Yeah.
end it right there?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
Because it kind of defeats the well, I mean, somebody still can walk around, but they're gonna be walking into a confined section. I just don't think there's enough cost associated with it. And that was our original plan some years ago.
So it shows there's an existing sidewalk there. Would it go all the way out to the sidewalk? Because obviously you don't want to impede the
Right.
people walking up and down the sidewalk.
Sure.
So just end at the sidewalk.
And Mr. Halliburton, would that be with the caveat that if and when the properties to the north and south develop, that it could be removed so that there could be vehicular access between those sites?
Yes, sir. So if there's not further discussion, I'll make a motion to that effect. And like Matthew said, that we would tear them down once we need access, either to the north or south, subject to all staff comments.
Oh, real quick question
Yeah.
before I second that. When it does come about, who's paying to remove the fence?
the owner of the adjacent property, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so we're gonna give permission to the adjacent property to do it at their expense?
I think it has to be this property. owner.
Yeah, I think,
I don't think we can.
I don't think we can put
can't
it on
bind
that.
I
parties
think
to
it
a
has,
contract.
it has to
Right.
be our, it
Yeah,
has to be
this one.
this property owner.
So we're gonna tell him to take it, put it up and put it down.
Well, but it would also benefit him to be able to have
Have
the
the
cross
cross-traffic.
access coming back and forth. I think they'll
I just
want
want
to take it down.
I just wanted that
point.
clarified
It needs
before
to be.
we approved it. I second the motion, I just wanted that to be
Sure.
vocalized.
Okay. Ms. Jaco, we have a motion and a second.
Ms. Ava Water,
Aye.
Mr. Carroll,
Aye.
Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Vice Chair Halliburton,
Aye.
Mr. Prince,
Aye.
Mr. Wright,
Aye.
Chair Jones.
Aye.
We'll get that pattern book updated before city council to reflect that.
Okay.
Thank you, Matthew.
Great. Thank you all very much. Okay, our next item, which I'm guessing is what everybody's here to see tonight. We have a zoning application for approximately 3.88 acres located along South Bilbro Avenue and East Castle Street to be rezoned from RS8 and CCO to PND. It's the First Baptist Church Murfreesboro PND, and CCO, First Baptist Church Murfreesboro, is the applicant. Ms. Smith?
Hello again, Chair Jones. This particular property currently that is proposed to be a PND, which stands for Planned Institutional District, which is generally the planned district that is implemented for different kind of group assemblies, schools, and churches. But the current zoning on the property is residential, single-family, RS8. If you
Ms.
look,
Ms. Smith, if the cable department could change there we go. They had my computer on the planning commission screens,
oh, gotcha.
and they've got it corrected now.
So as you can see by the map on the screen, the church is located in the current blue area. This is our future land use map, and so that shows as public institution. The properties that they want to incorporate into this planned district include these properties highlighted with the yellow outside, which are designated mixed-form housing, and then this one individual lot that is neighborhood commercial because it's a existing commercial legal non-conforming use. And so looking at our those various districts, each of those districts show that a planned district could be considered for each of those as a use that would be consistent with our long-range plan, as was outlined in the staff report. And suggested districts include, as you can see under the public-private institutional character, include that PND district designation. If you look at the mixed-form housing section, you'll notice it includes planned residential or planned unit district. This one does not have any residential or commercial in it. So it doesn't exactly fit, but again, it says other zone districts to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. So as staff looked at the entirety of the proposal, we believe that we could support it being consistent with our general plan in its land use determination. The existing off-site parking lot would actually be demolished. It's currently was approved by BZA years ago with just asphalt. They would actually remove that parking lot and incorporate it into the future expanded parking lot and meet the city standards of landscaping, buffer landscaping, and fencing. The applicant will be going into the program book with that, and they have made some updates since our last review of the project. When we set the public hearing, that they'll go over more specifically in relation to 6-foot fences versus 4-foot fences. So the buffer requirements are normally a 6-foot fence with a, I want to say it's a D, double check, pull up that other project. There we go. So normally it would have a type B as in boy buffer landscape, as you can see on this overall program book. But what staff is looking at, we have something called CEPTED policy, which basically means try to crime prevention through environmental design. So as staff looked at it and was looking at the adjacent neighborhoods, we believe that the 6-foot tall buffer fence along this portion of the project, this section over here, as well as this back section here, with our regular buffer landscaping made sense, and that would also include shrubbery because it's adjacent to parking lots as well as the trees and such. However, because they have an internal sidewalk system that traverses here on the project site, we wanted to make sure we didn't put anybody in harm's way in those areas. So staff had recommended that these areas be a 4-foot fence, so there's clearer visibility. You don't have people hiding out, and it's very visible for anybody that might be using that, as well as in this location as well. And then because the lot B is such a small lot, we didn't want 6-foot fences creating kind of a box that nobody could see into, so we also proposed this 4-foot fence in this section. So the applicant will be providing a presentation to go over those, and there's one page in the program book that visually shows what that looks like, but we think with those things incorporated into the site, as well as a maximum pole lighting height of 16 feet, which is normally the maximum for a residential district, even though this is not a residential project, it's surrounded by residential. So we believe that it's appropriate to keep those pole heights to that 16-foot maximum, and that all of these internal sidewalks actually have a candle watt of 0.50, which is normally required for like our apartment sidewalks and our apartment parking lots. So it's, you know, a low number, but still adequate enough to provide good safety and access both during day and nighttime with those two issues. So with that, I will turn this over to the applicant's person to provide a presentation.
Thank you, Holly. Good evening again. I am Brian Grover from SEC. With me tonight is Matt Taylor and Warren Russell from First Baptist Church. First Baptist Church has been part of Murfreesboro since the late 1800s, but 1879, I believe, is when their first church was actually built. Since then, they have continued to grow, moving to the place they are today. One of the aspects of a growing church is a growing congregation. With that, the need for parking. With the limitations Murfreesboro faces in terms of expansion within its inner core, an opportunity presented itself to the church to purchase some properties and remedy a current situation they have of on-street parking, kind of creating some safety issues throughout the neighborhood. So the idea is to get all those vehicles into a parking lot and off of the street. As stated, the site is located near the intersection of East Castle Street and South Bilbao Avenue. It consists of several lots. Here's a closer look at that with the existing church to the south from East Castle Street, and approximately 7 lots along South Bilbao Avenue, and the smaller lot, I believe a barber shop is currently there. The existing zoning for the site is RS 8. This would be a PND for all 3 parcels of the site. We do believe that the use for this does line up with the future land use plan in terms of providing a utilitarian need, much needed utilitarian for this church. As the site exists today, here's a photo of that existing barber shop, what would be that smaller lot. This is a photo of the existing parking lot across the church and the church just south of East Castle. Beginning at 326, so this is the existing homes heading north along South Bilbao Avenue, ending at 312, I believe. The overall plan is approximately 3.9 acres and 3 separate lots, with Lot A, the parking lot being the largest at just over 2 acres. The existing lot, Lot C, which is the primary campus, is about 1.5 acres, with Lot B being just shy of 1/4 acre. The goal of this was to provide parking for the church. So those parking numbers are approximately about 205 proposed spaces. With this parking increase, there comes other standards such as accessibility. To help remedy that, the solution to that is to restripe portions of the existing church parking lot so that we can maintain the proximity of those accessible spaces to the church as part of those requirements. The proposed PND, as stated, is almost 4 acres. It's 205 additional spaces. Utilities for the site, which would be very minimal, primarily just electric for the poles, and if desired, water for irrigation would be provided on site. The northern and western perimeter of these parking lots would be buffered. I'll go into a little more details about how those look in just a little bit. One of the main items we discussed at the neighborhood meeting was the concern for lighting. So, as Holly stated, these lights would be a maximum height of 16 feet. They would be shielded, have that external glare shield around the perimeter to make sure we have as little trespass as possible. A lot of lights now are configured to actually provide what they call a back cutoff light distribution. So it is very minimal backlighting with these fixtures, and those would be utilized in this, within this project. These lights would also be dark sky compliant. So the whole point of the dark sky compliance is to make sure that these lights are providing light where they're pointed to, and that's it, not upwards, and as very little backwards as possible. With this request, all approved variances from previous BZA submittals would still be applicable to this unless this pattern book specifically overrides that. And part of an opportunity the church saw to kind of give back to the community was the availability of a walking trail or pathway within the parking lot. So people had a place to go to that was more of a circuit and be in a safe place to do so. Access to the sites, the existing church access would remain the same. There is 3 proposed exits and entrances onto Lot A, the larger of the parking lot, and 1 entrance onto Lot B. Here is an exhibit displaying the landscape buffers and streetscape plantings that would be required with this site. Red depicting the streetscape, with the remaining colors being the various buffer types throughout the site. The blue area here, here's a section of what this would typically look like. This would include that 6-foot fence with the 10-foot wide type B landscape buffer and shrubs. The sidewalk is displayed on here. That sidewalk with this proposal will only be included with Lot A, as with Lot B being as narrow as it is, that 7-foot sidewalk just wouldn't fit as it is today. The green areas here depicted, this is that type B buffer still, but with the 4-foot fence. That 4-foot fence, as stated, would provide a higher amount of safety for the site, but still be tall enough to help and mitigate light trespass from any headlights that might be shining in that direction. With lastly, a 4-foot fence and screening shrubs provided on the east side of the Lot B. Overall, the design as a use for parking is not allowed within the CCO district as a sole use for a lot. So that is a requested exception that's being included with this book. Also, as an overall exception being requested with this is that these this development does not provide the formal open space you would typically see, as the primary goal is just include this parking, but still the church wanted to include some aspect of open space, included that walking path. The two specific other exceptions requested with this primarily has to do with the buffering. One, requesting the type B buffer along the southwestern portion of Lot A, utilize a 4-foot fence with 50% tree plantings and the parking lot screening shrubs, and the eastern portion of the Lot B use a 4-foot tall fence with only the parking lot screening shrubs. Reason for this request, as stated, is we just want to make sure that the site is safely accessible and used and can be observed from the street, and we don't want to have anyone obscured and jeopardize their safety. If you guys have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them now or after the public hearing. Mr. Warren is here also if you have any questions specifically related to the church operations.
Okay. Thank you very much. Questions before the public hearing? Okay. Then we will open the public hearing and ask for anybody to come forward that would like to speak. Anybody at all?
Mr. Warren?
Chairman Jones, members of the commission, I'm Walter Harris, 2902 Pavilion Place, Murfreesboro. I am a member of First Baptist Church, and over the last few years, I've assisted in the parking, and parking can be a quagmire there at the church during our Sunday services. I'm looking at it more from the safety standpoint, because Castle Street, Bilbro, and Sunset Streets, in many cases, would be totally clogged if we weren't out there assisting and directing traffic. And at the same time, it would cause a problem with our emergency equipment going in and out. And if we got this parking lot, from the safety standpoint, with people crossing the streets in various different points, as opposed to coming in at 2 or 3, it would enhance the safety of just the people that's coming to the church. And one additional thing, on Castle Street, we have a big mixture of people coming to the church to park, as well as normal flow of traffic through Castle Street. So that really creates a problem in just getting people with the egress process of getting them in and out of the parking lots. So if we are granted this opportunity to expand into these parking spaces, it would certainly, I think, be a big help to the church as well as to the city of Murfreesboro. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Who else would like to speak tonight?
Good evening. Will Thomas, 302 South Bilbro Avenue. I recently bought this house about 2 years ago. It's about built in 1927. And I could have bought a house anywhere, but I chose this neighborhood because of the makeup, and I see that the neighborhood is coming up. Now, I personally don't have a problem with the church trying to get more parking, but first of all, to me, the project is not neighborhood friendly. And the biggest problem I have with is on Castle Street, where they're blocking this one house in where apparently the guy didn't want to sell or whatever, and they got the parking lot right next to him. So in that instance, if that was my house, I would lose a lot of value. And with me being on the corner lot, and there's only one other house next to me, I lose a lot of value. And it's not necessarily all about the value, but it has to make sense. And to tear down 6, 7, possibly 8 homes with the shortage we have in Murfreesboro with housing, I just think it's unwarranted. I think that there's better options, and I'm willing to help with better options. There's vacant properties on MLK that I think could have been used. And another problem I have with it, unless I got it wrong, and I know they've changed some things, is along Bilbro, going from south to north, they're going to stop the new sidewalk they're going to put in right there, right before the last house before my house. And I don't see how that's beautifying the neighborhood, because that's just going to stop right there. It should go all the way down. So all I'm saying is I think that there's a better solution, and I think that these houses can still be used, and I think they could still house families. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Charles. Who else would like to speak? Anybody? Good evening.
Commissioners, Chair, thank you for your consideration this evening. My name is Paul Chilson. I live at 825 Sunrise Street, within the 500-foot notification area of this proposed development. And I just want to start out, I don't really have any problem with the church, and I think that they should have the ability to solve their problems. The problem is that this particular solution comes at the expense of the neighborhood and the neighbors. And my understanding of good planning and considerate planning is that that's not the way it's supposed to go. We've heard a number of proposals this evening where they're putting fences up and blocking things off and considering neighborhoods. This is a neighborhood. It was a neighborhood first, and the neighborhood wins in this case, or at least the neighborhood should win. This is not, as the church reports it, this is not going to entirely solve their parking problem. It's going to mitigate it somewhat. So it's not really solving the problem. This request, as another person from the neighborhood said, is not neighborly. I'm a little surprised that you're even considering this, this 2-part parking lot. It's like a scene from the animated movie Up, where you're boxing in a house. It's not good planning. It seems that they should go back to the drawing board. They should consider other things that do not negatively impact the neighborhood. Values of homes in this area are going to go down. The environment's going to suffer because we're cutting trees down. We're going to pave green space, and these, we've got heat is a problem in our future, right? And now you're going to put blacktop in, or some type of thing that's not going to be as environmentally friendly. I live in a property down the road, down the street. If I came to this commission and said, I want to put a gas station here, or I want to put a bank here, I want to rezone this and do that, you'd probably tell me to go take a hike, because that's not what you do in neighborhoods. And yes, the church is in the neighborhood, and the church has a problem, but they shouldn't be allowed to foist their problem onto the back of the people that live there and to the neighborhood. As the person, Brian, I think his name is, was saying, this is a neighborhood. You're trying to wedge in the zoning and trying to rationalize rezoning this, and it just isn't good planning. The law says that churches can't be zoned out of neighborhoods. but it does not give them a blank check to just sort of pave over a neighborhood. This is a historic neighborhood, historically black neighborhood. We're going to tear down a bunch of homes at a time where there's a dearth of good, of affordable housing. There are plenty of options. I think at the very least this ought to be tabled, and they ought to go back to the drawing board and come up with different ideas that take into consideration the neighborhood. The bottom line is that, you know, this parking problem is the church's problem. It's not my problem. It's not the neighbor's problem. And there's good people at the church. There's plenty of good people running the church. They have good intentions. But this is pushing a problem onto the neighborhood. Our housing value prices are going to go down. We're going to have a parking lot in the middle of our neighborhood. Ask any of yourselves, would you like a parking lot in your neighborhood? Ask the people, administration of the church and the pastors. Do they want a parking lot in their neighborhood? No. We don't want one either. So it's something that, this is not the type of thing that helps this particular, our particular neighborhood. I will say a few things, a few other things.
Don't forget your 3-minute time limit.
Right. Can I finish my just last couple of comments? Is that all right?
If you make them quick.
We did talk with the people at the neighborhood about the lighting being high. It sounds like they're doing lighting that's now much higher than what we had talked about at that meeting. Also, why is there not a fence along Bilbro? There's people right across the street. They don't want to be looking into a parking lot. Again, this looks like it's a little half-baked, to pull another quote from another old movie, okay? And I think that there's something that, these are things I would hope you would consider. Thank you. Sorry I ran a little over time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate your comments. Who else would like to speak?
Hi, how are you? My name is Ashley Gadlitz, 2373 Age Avenue in Murfreesboro. I'm a member of First Baptist Church. Been going to the church for about 1.5 years. I have a 6 and a 7-year-old, 2 little boys. We actually park on the corner of East Castle and, I don't know the cross street, I'm so sorry, but we generally right at the corner on the stop sign about every Sunday. And my children and I, East Castle and Bilbro, we run across the street every Sunday. In the midst of cars and commotion, the consensus from everyone that's speaking is that we have a problem, and I am a direct impact of that, as far as just safety for myself and my boys. I took some notes, but my phone just died. So there's that. It was said that, decrease in value of homes and impacting the neighborhood, that's what our church is about, is impact. Yes, we might be knocking down some homes, but we're also building a walking track, right? We're trying to solve multiple problems by building community engagement. And I believe the parking lot will help in all of those aspects. For me, the most important thing is getting out of the street. I think that's the consensus for every member here that's shown up, is getting our vehicles out of the street, so that if they're just for safety, but then safety reasons if there's an emergency, but also safety of ourselves, our children, and trying to make the situation better. There was consideration of the residences, but then there's also consideration of the church needs. It was also mentioned that our church has been in the neighborhood for quite some time, since the 1800s, and that we're growing, just like everything else in Murfreesboro. And we definitely need the parking, as well as accommodations that were made for everyone else in the neighborhood as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Tamika Knowles, 419 Tyne Avenue. Tyne Avenue is 4 blocks north on Castle Street. I think that's north. I don't have a compass. I could bike, walk, skip, jump to First Baptist. I'm retired military, and when I first started looking for a church home, I went to so many different churches. You know, I asked around, and you're like, you know, my church, my church, my church, and I gave them all a try, and something kept bringing me back to First Baptist. It was the community aspect, and I didn't want to be biased because it's so close. I wanted to give all these other churches a chance before I set my feet so close to home. And I just recently graduated from the minister class. I'm a minister now at First Baptist, about a good month in. And I have to say that the community that I found here at First Baptist is second to none, and that's saying a lot, seeing that I've traveled all over the world as a soldier, and I'm always the new girl at church. Every 2 to 3 years, I'm the new girl at church, always having to find a new church home. And First Baptist has become home away from home. And there is a parking issue. There is a safety issue with not just the cars that come through to come to church. There's also those in the community and those that use the street, Castle Street, to get downtown. I work downtown. I work at Domenico's. Some of you, I've served sandwiches too. That's just one of my jobs. I'm like Snoop Dogg now, just collecting bonus points. You know, if it's something I've not done yet in my life, I want to try it. I want to see what it's like, you know. I joined the Army at 17, so food service wasn't something that was on my agenda. But I use Castle to get to work, and it's not as congested, even with the new construction where they tore down all those apartments. But that Sunday traffic is horrendous, not just for churchgoers, because we got 3 services. So there's the service that's coming in and the service that's leaving, and then it's too much. It's too much for the community. And I know they don't want a parking lot and they don't want these things, but those houses are already purchased. Those houses sit empty. One of those houses with the bricks and the bay windows, I love that house. I think that house is the most beautiful house in Murfreesboro, but I'm willing to not look at it anymore if it takes kids from running across the streets, if it puts a sidewalk so that there's safety, if it puts a walking track in a neighborhood that needs one outside of the one here at Patterson that closes early. I don't understand why the community doesn't want this when those houses are already vacant, that some of those houses still have things in them that were the previous owners still have things in there. I walk past that house and I can look in and see all the things that are left behind. I think it would beautify the neighborhood and have it grow with the growth that is Murfreesboro. Thank y'all for y'all's time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Who's next? I was going to say, I know somebody else wants to speak.
Good evening. Warren Russell, 1422 Northwest Cove, here in Murfreesboro. I will tell the Planning Commission it's good to be on this side.
Especially tonight,
But
huh?
I would like to talk about the church. We are a church that is of the community, and we have been in the community, and we serve not just the neighborhood. We serve the whole community. We give back to the community. We don't just say what we're going to do. We actually do it. We've given back over $1 million over the last 6 years to the community. So we're not just talking about it. We do it. We serve a lot of nonprofits. We serve a lot of people coming to the church that need money, and we serve them. As it relates to the parking, what they have explained to you is just a little bit of the issue. We park across Martin Luther King, which is a 4-lane highway. We have our leadership team parked there so that we can have more parking for our members close to the church. We run 2 buses, 1 van, 2 golf carts running the neighborhood trying to get people in so that they don't have to be walking down the street. That is the magnitude of the parking. We have over 200 to 300 cars on every street, and they park both sides of the street on some streets, but they park every street around the church. This is the solution that we have. This is the solution that we think we've contemplated years. This is not a half-baked thing that we're trying to put on everybody at the last minute. We've been working on this for years. This is our solution. What we decided was we want to stay in the community instead of moving away from the community. We've been part of this community, as they stated, over 100 years. And we want to be in the community because we are a driving safe force within the community. That's why we're doing this. That's why we want to stay here. We're not just talking about the community, we are the community. As it relates to housing, my address is one place, but I do own houses there. And I do support this because it is going to be a much safer. You cannot run the fire trucks when we're parked like that. So if there's a house on fire, imagine calling the church, trying to get somebody out, and taking cars out so the fire truck can get there. That's not going to happen. So I wanted to explain just the magnitude of the issue. It's going to happen sooner or later that there's a house on fire, and we don't want to be the ones that's causing the problem of somebody not getting saved. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. No clapping, please. Who else would like to speak? Is that it? We've heard from everybody? Okay. All right, then we will, are you going to speak? Okay, come on.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tanya Dumas, 1019 Greenland. I'm a member, of course, of FPC. I'm also a member of the hospitality ministry. And I'm there extremely early in the morning, probably about 7:15. And I stay all day because we're a welcoming church, committed to discipleship, impacting the world for Jesus Christ. That's who we are. And we have people that are coming in that we're the triage. It's a hospital. And so at the front door, we see everybody. They come to us with all kinds of issues and needs. And what I love about this church is a very old church. It's not older than my first church in Alabama, but it is really appealing to our youth. Our young people are coming out with, that is what really drew me to this church, is to see the families that come out, the young people, the MTSU students. We need parking. We need a safe space for these people to come in. To this space. We have those 3 services, but that's still not enough because we don't have a cookie cutter approach. It is led by the Spirit. Some of our people will come and they may stay all day. Sometimes I stay all day because I know that it's going to be led by the Spirit. And for those of you who have not been to First Baptist, I want to welcome you. We have 3 services, 8 o'clock, 9:45, and 11:45. And one of the reasons why we space out that time is to allow people to move back and forth. And I've seen these deacons, the deacon board works really hard in making sure that the parking, that people are getting to where they need to be and things like this. This parking lot would open up so many doors. I wish each of you could have been there watch night because we literally probably could have cut a hole in the top and pull people down from the top because we were in overflow of the overflow of the overflow. And so I appease to this committee and to this group and to this city and to this county to please continue to allow us to grow and to provide safe parking a safe place for children, the elderly, and for everybody to walk to get to the church. Thank you so much, and I hope to see y'all Sunday. I'll be at the front door.
It's not, sorry. Hold the clapping, please. Okay, who else would like to speak? Anybody? Okay. Last call. And we will, are you coming? Okay. Bringing some extra help with you, I see. Yes.
Good evening. My name is Elmira Cheney. I live at 705A East Castle, and I am also a member at First Baptist. So I see both sides. As you see, I did have a helper come up with me. We walk to church to avoid the parking issues because we are so close. But also, even with walking, the side of the street that we stay on, we have half of a sidewalk. The other side, it has a full sidewalk, but every other house has a driveway. And then there's still the cars, the big trucks that are there parked on the street. So with us even walking, it's still extremely dangerous because it's hard for us to see between those cars sometimes. So I feel as though there is a need for the parking lot. Also, I feel as though there will be a benefit with the walking. I know someone did mention the house in between the current parking lot and the barber shop. That family, we connect with that family on a regular basis. Some of their family members come there. The children play in the current parking lot that's there when it's not in use on Sundays. So where some people may not see all the benefits, there's more than just the benefit of parking the cars on Sunday or when we have an event that will bring the community together also. Because again, the other houses that are there in the housing complexes, we don't have places for our children. We don't have a park over there. So that walking trail will give us more community and more family time to be around each other outside of just our homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I think that was the final person, so we will close the public hearing and open for comments.
All right,
Sir.
I'll make a comment. First Baptist is a staple of the neighborhood, like we've heard from multiple members, and I got a lot of phone calls and messages, and I think I got tagged on Facebook like 15 times about people complaining about houses being torn down. These houses are owned by the church. This was the plan to put to a solution for the church's parking. And like one of the speakers said, they're not even occupied. They're there for a solution that the church did to try to create this problem. This is a church with a great ministry, great powerful message. And like they said on Sunday mornings, you can't traverse through this neighborhood because there's that many people going to this church. I'm in full support of this. It will be, and I had a comment from one of the people that was against it, that you wouldn't want to live next to a parking lot. I grew up in Murfreesboro beside a church parking lot, and I would love to own that house again. And we played in that parking lot. We played basketball. We played football in the parking lot. We used the parking lot as an asset for the community, not as a hindrance to the community. I've sold houses in this neighborhood for 20 years. There was a time when you couldn't even give a house away in this neighborhood, and now we keep hearing about how this is an up-and-coming neighborhood. It's an up-and-coming neighborhood for places like First Baptist, who have been committed to the neighborhood this whole time. So I'm in full support.
Okay. What other comments, questions, concerns?
There was a question regarding a fence on Bilbro. I'm assuming that there's not a proposed fence
So, and it's maybe sometimes a little bit hard to see some of the requirements, but the exceptions that you saw in your book are exceptions to city code. City code requires perimeter plantings along perimeters of parcels. They also require, if you have parking adjacent to a street, you have to put in a row of hedges. So as you're looking at Bilbro here, there is a row of hedges that come all the way across the front of that parking area, along with those trees. And then the same thing goes for this portion of the property, the edge and the edge. So from the street side, you'll see about 3 foot tall, 3.5 foot tall hedges going through that section. And that's what the city standard calls out for in those particular areas. Very rarely do we see fencing along street frontages just because of visibility when you're trying to get into and out of a parking lot. You want to make sure that those fence lines don't cause a problem. So that you do have those particular portions as well as the screening fences that we've talked about along these perimeters, which, because they are directly adjacent to the neighborhood, the city requires that there's at least buffer landscaping, not necessarily fencing, but in this case they wanted to include some fencing to provide a little bit more separation in the neighborhood, but we wanted to make sure it didn't cause some other unintended consequences with 6-foot fences throughout. So that's kind of what they've done there. The second question that was brought up to the attention was, I believe, the neighbor to the north, which I want to say is probably here is your intersection up the street, and there's 2 properties adjacent. That was brought up during the public hearing, and in talking, Matthew had talked with our infrastructure group, and they said if the church designs the sidewalks for it, as city funds become available, the city would extend that sidewalk to the corner. And then this property here, if you look along the street, there's a little bit of room in the right-of-way for a sidewalk. Again, the city would look at connecting that so that you have a sidewalk that runs the length of Bilbro and then all the way across here to Lot B. And then, of course, First Baptist is directly across the street here, where they could come out to a singular point. But that would provide that connectivity that was brought up. Those were the 2 questions I think that we had not answered.
And I wanted to just reinforce what Ms. Smith just said. That would be, as funds become available, our public infrastructure department would add it to its list for its sidewalk program, and with the condition that the church and their design team designed those sidewalks, and that the city, as funds would become available, would install those sidewalks to close in those gaps.
And I do recall the other question was parking lot lighting. I don't know what was brought up at the neighborhood meeting, but originally what we did see was, I think there's a couple of lights that are proposed on some of the perimeter that they had stated was at 16 feet, but they did not call out in the program book the heights of the other ones. So it was unclear whether that would be 16 or 20. Let me make sure I've got the right number. Yeah, here we go, 16. So staff wanted to make sure that we were clear about that, and 16 feet is the city standard that you would see in residential neighborhoods. Commercial areas, you might see 20. At the church site, if there's a building that's over 35 feet, you could see taller pole lighting normally incorporated in that type of a setting. But here they've agreed to that lower height. And I think that answers the questions that I heard.
Any other comments or questions? I'll just say, I think we all know, the downtown churches all throughout, parking is just the biggest issue we have in trying to grow our churches. And, I think you're doing a lot to try to do the best job you can to provide the safety you can for your members, while hopefully allowing you the ability to continue to grow and grow your church, and to allow, you know, members within the community to walk if they so desire. And hopefully, you know, I think it's possible with all the landscaping you've got in here to add beautification to the area as well. I think you've covered a lot of the bases on the negatives that come with the fact what parking lots are parking lots, but they're certainly a necessity, and I would be in favor of this proposal.
Chair, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we approve this application based off staff comments.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Ms. Jacob?
Ms. Saberwater,
Aye.
Mr. Carroll,
Aye.
Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Vice Chair Halliburton,
Aye.
Mr. Prince,
Aye.
Mr. Wright,
Aye.
Chair Jones.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you all. Thank you all for coming out tonight. We rarely have such a large group of people come out, and especially in favor of and to help support your projects. So we really appreciate you all taking your time out on a Wednesday night to come and see us. So, and if by chance anybody lost a glove on the way in, a leather glove, it's at the desk.
They found it.
All right, good job. Do we have any other business tonight, Mr. Blomley? Any other business? Great. We stand adjourned.